Welcome back to the official Play Through the Whistle podcast. We are so glad you clicked on the video today. Follow us on all our social medias if you want to see more content like this. Click the link tree in the Instagram to get easy access to our social medias. If you are not already subscribed, click that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on. Now let's get into the episode.
Welcome to the official Play Through the Whistle podcast, episode 1. I am Garnette Punter. Alongside me is my favorite co-host, Jalen Jordan. Jalen, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I feel great. It is the inaugural start to the official Play Through the Whistle podcast. And it's a great day to do it because there's a lot of things coming up in the world of sports.
You're right. NFL draft is about 2.5 weeks away. The NBA season just ended, which means the playoffs are right around the corner. Before we get into the talk of the meat and potatoes of the episode today, I think we should introduce ourselves a little bit. Well, as you know, as I just said, my name is Garnette Punter. I'm a big Cowboys fan, as you could tell. I'm also a Boston Celtics fan in the NBA, and I want to give y'all three guys that are like my favorite players that aren't on my team. So guys, you might just see me defend a little bit harder. In the NFL, it's guys like Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown. Those are my favorite guys, mainly because I'm a big draft guy, and those are two of the guys that I scouted, and what I said about them really came true. Another guy I really like on the defensive side of the ball, I would say, is Darius Leonard. I'll defend him real hard. I think he deserves Defensive Player of the Year. But let's go to the NBA. Outside of the guys on the Boston Celtics, three guys that I say I'll defend the most is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Halliburton, and Trae Young. All three guards. I know Shai and Tyrese probably play the same, but I'll just kick it to Jalen on this one.
All right. So as Garnett said earlier, my name is Jalen Jordan. My favorite NFL team would have to be the Denver Broncos. Something about that Mile High Country, like that orange and blue. In the NBA, I would say I don't really have a team. I don't necessarily like players. Garnett's team is the Boston Celtics, but for me, it would have to be my favorite player would be LeBron. Just growing up, you see LeBron James and the historic things he's done in his career just drew attention to him, and so that's my favorite player. But if I had to name three guys in the NFL and NBA who aren't on my team that I would really like, I'll start with the NFL, of course. I'm going to go with Devontae Adams, my favorite receiver. Something about how he just runs routes, how he's always consistently open. My next guy would be another great route runner, Stephon Diggs, born and raised in Maryland. That backstory just adds to it. And again, he runs nice, clean, crisp routes. I would go for my third guy. I would say Joe Burrow. I really like his confidence, really like his swag. I think what he's done with the Bengals in just 2 years is phenomenal. Seeing that he was just drafted 2 years ago and he just took his team to the Super Bowl. And when you have a lot of swag like that, you have to have the confidence to back it up and also the stats to prove it. And he has that. In NBA, I would say Kevin Durant, another local born and raised in Maryland type of guy. Nothing that Kevin Durant does can be copycatted or made to another one. Nobody can do what he does, especially for his size and his height. Next, Kyrie Irving. I know it's Brooklyn Nets players, but it's just something Kyrie can't copycat his game. Nobody has the handles like Kyrie does. I think in general, he's the best ball handler we've seen in the NBA. And then for my third guy, I got to go with Jamal Murray. Something between, I just like confidence, I like guys who bring confidence into their team and know that they're here for a reason in the league. So my third guy would be Jamal Murray.
All right. Thank you, Jalen. But before we get into what this episode is all about, I just want to say something real quick. This has been long in the making. It's been really long in the making. And I'll just appreciate it if you leave a like on the video, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. We'll try our best to get y'all 2 episodes a week. And also we'll break it down in a clip so you don't have to watch the full 40, 50 minute, however long this podcast is. We'll break it down in a clip so you can get each individual thing. But with that being said, Jalen, unless you want to add on anything, we'll get into what we're here for.
Let's do it.
So, like I said, the NBA season, just ended. So, which means we got some awards to hand out. Jalen, let's go over your award winners.
All right. So as you all see on your screen right now, these are my award winners for the 2021-2022 NBA season. I'm going to start with my most valuable player. I believe goes to Nikola Jokic. Kind of like what we've seen in the NFL this year. We had Rodgers win back-to-back because of his phenomenal seasons with his stats and all that. I feel like the same goes for Nikola Jokic in the NBA. Hands down, probably the most talented center that we have in the NBA today. We don't see very much big men run the floor like Jokic does or run the offense like Jokic does. So I would have to give my MVP to Nikola Jokic. Rookie of the year, tight race. I feel like everybody's had their months where they were like, yeah, I'm rookie of the year. Everybody's had their games where it's like, yeah, I'm rookie of the year. But overall, I have to go with Cade Cunningham. I feel like this season, he was the number one pick for a reason. Granted, he plays in Detroit, not a big media market, not a big franchise in general. But if I had to go to rookie of the year, I would say Cade Cunningham.
Interesting.
Sixth man of the year, I think undoubtedly has to go with Tyler Hero. The things that he's done just coming off that bench for the Miami Heat, just been phenomenal. And I feel like hands down, he's sixth man of the year. I feel like there's nothing else I need to say. He's sixth man of the year. Defensive player of the year, I know Garnette's going to see his Boston Celtic player up here. But I feel like it goes to Marcus Smart. Now, when most people think of defensive player of the year, I think they think of big size players, like your threes, your fours, and your fives. But I feel like Marcus Smart definitely brings championship defense to a team, especially like the Boston Celtics. It's just something he has a knack for getting after the ball or pressuring the defender and pressuring the player to take a difficult shot or tough shot. So I feel like Marcus Smart definitely should have the defensive player of the year vote. Most improved, there's a lot of people you can give it to this year. The NBA, the young guys especially, have definitely stepped their games up this year. But I'm going to go with DeJounte Murray. The reason why I'm going to go with DeJounte Murray because he was the leader of that San Antonio Spurs team. Undoubtedly, he was the leader. If you look at his stats over the course of the season, he's broken records, Spurs franchise records. And I feel like the things that he does for that Spurs team, take him off that team, they're not in the play-in. Like, granted, they are the 10th seed, they are the last seed in the play-in, but they are not in the play-in. And his game has stepped up from last year, this year.
Yeah, they're more like a 21 team without DeJounte.
Exactly. First-time All-Star this year, so granted, he got to do the injuries, but it's still having your name in the conversations does speak value. So I'm going to give my most improved to DeJounte Murray. Coach of the year, got to go with Taylor Jenkins, man, coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. There's this stat that I don't know, most people the stat that the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant are 20-2. I just want to put that in perspective. 20-2 without their star player. Without their best player, they have a 90% win rate. That speaks to coaching. Like, if you look at what Monty Williams did last year with the Suns, great coaching. With CP3 at the helm of that, Devin Booker also leading that as well, with a little help with DeAndre and Mikal Bridges. Those are solid pieces. 2 All-Stars, arguably. If you look at the Memphis Grizzlies this year, 1 All-Star, Ja Morant. Without him, they have won 90% of their games without him when he's not on the floor. So we put that in perspective of the overall season. There's 82 games in the season. The Grizzlies could have went 75-7 based off this 20-2 without Ja Morant.
Yeah. I mean, it's still impressive to win without Ja Morant, but some of the teams they played, I mean, they did beat the Suns. They did beat the fully.
Like, realistically, I don't believe they will go 75-7.
That's
Realistically.
Perspective for people.
But if we had to look at it in that perspective, they're on pace to go 75-7 based off of that. Mm-hmm. So that's why I believe Coach of the Year should go to Taylor Jenkins. But now I'm going to kick it over to Garnette to see his award winners.
So here are my award winners. You know, we have some similarities, some differences. I'll start with the similarities. MVP, I've gone to Nikola Jokic. What that man has done with that roster, they literally have taken their 2 other co-stars off the roster with Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, and this team is still battling for the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Granted, they got the 6th seed, and normally you don't see MVPs right here, but it's an outlier here, kind of like the Russell Westbrook year. I'll say let's talk about the similarities first before I get to the differences. 6th man of the year, undoubtedly Tyler Hero. I mean, this man is leading his team in scoring, leading the offense for the Miami Heat off the bench. It's incredible what he's done. And his progression, honestly, from year 2 to year 3, a little sophomore slump there. And my defense player here is Marcus Smart. The Celtics have the best defense in the league. The Boston Celtics have the best defense in the league. And what this man can do, just altering shots and whatnot, he's held Kyrie Irving and Trae Young both to their worst nights this season. Like, that should speak to something. But anyway, let's get to the differences. I could talk about Marcus Smart all day. Rookie of the year, I have it going to Scotty Barnes. We've already talked about Cade a little bit. Scotty Barnes is another really good candidate. Another good candidate is Evan Mobley, but Scotty Barnes, in my opinion, he's just had the most complete season. Like, Cade Cunningham, he started off the season a little slow. Evan Mobley, he ended the season a little slow, although he got hurt. But Scotty Barnes, he's just been an all-around player and helping the Raptors get to the 5th seed, which I think is really good considering the talent on their roster. Scotty Barnes really came in and helped this team and this organization get back on track from that disappointing season last year. My most improved player is Ja Morant. Like I said, other good candidates other than Ja and DeJounte. You still got Miles Bridges, you still got Jordan Poole. There's another guy I'm forgetting, Darius Garland. I can't forget Darius Garland, but I have to give it to Ja Morant. We're talking about a guy who was really, really good, last season, but he took the step. He took the leap into undoubtedly top 20 player, arguable top 15 player in the league. Definitely a top 5 point guard now. I mean, the man is averaging what, like 29 and 7?
Insane.
Yeah, he's been putting up some insane numbers. And my coach of the year is Monty Williams. Although I do agree with the stat without Jaw is impressive. The Suns have went through a lot this year. The Suns, Devin Booker, he's been through some injuries, health and safety. Chris Paul was out for basically the whole second half of the season. And this team has not only met expectations, they've surpassed them. Like, although this team made the finals, nobody was expecting this team to be, a 63, 64 win team. Nobody was expecting that. And Monty Williams has not only done that, but he's done better than what people were expecting. So those are our award winners. Next up, we'll go to our play-in picks. Well, Jalen's play-in picks. I'll let Jalen take the floor.
All right. So we have the NBA play-in. And for people who might not know what the NBA play-in is, for the 7 and 8 seeds in the Eastern or Western Conference, you have to win a game. For the 7 and 8 seed, you have to win a game, meaning one game, and you are in the playoffs. For the 9th and 10th seed, you have to win 2 games to make it into the playoffs. So that's what the NBA play-in tournament is.
But before you go deep into the play-in, I think it's a little unfair to the Timberwolves. They are 10 games above. They are 10 games above the Pelicans, and they're still going to have to be fighting for their lives to get into the tournament. But anyway,
Western Conference is tough, man.
You keep going. You can keep going.
All right, so we have the 7th-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves facing off against the 8th-seeded Los Angeles Clippers, along with the 9th-seeded New Orleans Pelicans facing off with the 10th-seeded Spurs. In the perspective of the Western Conference, I'm going to take the Los Angeles Clippers over the Minnesota Timberwolves. I feel like with Paul George coming back, this team is an experienced team. You look at their roster, Serge Ibaka's been to the playoffs a couple times. They have one of the Morris twins. I think it's Marcus Morris. Yeah, Marcus play. He's been both of them been in the playoffs. I feel like you hear this narrative a lot of times in whatever sport you play in professional sports that experience helps in the playoffs. And if we're taking one game, I'm gonna take one game over experience and inexperience. So I do have the Los Angeles Clippers winning that inaugural game. Pelicans over the Spurs. Like I said, I feel like the Spurs, without DeJounte Murray, they wouldn't be here. As simple as that. Without DeJounte, they wouldn't be here. I feel like they're outmatched right here with Brandon Ingram, McCollum, Valanciunas. No disrespect to players like Keldon Johnson or Yaga Polo, but I just feel like the Pelicans take that one. The semi-close game, probably between 8 to 12 points will be the final score, but I do have the New Orleans Pelicans. That being said, in the losers part of the play-in tournament, the Timberwolves versus the Spurs.
The Timberwolves will play the Pelicans. You said you had the Pelicans winning.
Yeah, no, they'll play the Timberwolves will play the Spurs. I have the Spurs losing.
Yeah, the Spurs would be out. Then Timberwolves will play the Pelicans.
You're right
to get
about
the
that.
seed.
Right, tripping. My fault. So Timberwolves versus Pelicans. I'm gonna go with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I have them beating the New Orleans Pelicans. There's no answer for Cat on that team. There's no answer.
They're gonna throw Jonas Valanciunas at him.
There's no answer for Cat. There's no answer for Cat. I don't even feel like there's no answer for Anthony Edwards. Honestly, I don't feel like Anthony Edwards is too much of a freak athlete to be stopped by undersized McCollum. They might try to throw Brandon Ingram on him. Brandon Ingram is a solid defender, but I feel like Ant-Man gets the best of him. And like I said, nobody's stopping Cat on that team. If they double him, somebody's going to get open. Like, Valanciunas cannot stop him. I'm sorry. So saying that, I have the Clippers going into the playoffs as the 7th seed, and the Minnesota Timberwolves going into the playoffs as the 8th seed. Now let's take a look at this Eastern Conference play-in tournament. We got the 7th-seeded Nets facing off the 8th-seeded Cavs, 9th-seeded Hawks facing off against the 10th-seeded Hornets. Now Garnette's over there shaking his head because I know he sees a team up here.
Self-explanatory. It's self-explanatory. We know who's getting on there. We know who's getting in there. The Nets are going to beat the Cavs. I'll even expose my pick. The Nets are going to beat the Cavs.
No offense to the Cavaliers. Phenomenal season. Great potential.
Darius Garland, Jared Allen.
Especially with Colin Sexton out. It's a great potential. But it's the Nets.
I'll be forgetting they have Karis LeVert. There's a Karis LeVert revenge game.
Great move before the trade deadline. But it's the Nets, ladies and gentlemen. Kyrie and KD alone could beat that team. It's the Nets. There should be no explanation. It's the Nets.
Let's go on the Hawks Hornets.
Hawks Hornets. Now, when I look at this matchup, I'm normally based off team. I like to go position by position.
Before you dive deep into this, this will be a fun game to watch at the very.
Oh yes, it will be exciting.
It will be an exciting game to watch.
All the lobs and threes we're going to see in this game will be exciting to watch. But I have the Hornets. I just look at matchups. I know a lot of people say the Hornets are going to get far due to the lack that they have at center. Granted, the Hawks do have a better center at that spot. They do have Clint Capella. When I look all around, when I look at guys like that, I was about to say Desmond Bain for some reason. Oh my God, Miles Bridges. There's just guys on that Hornets team. I just think they really play well together. And if I have to take them to win,
they do have a lot of guys. Even with Gordon Hayward being out,
they have a nice, solid team. I feel like they can get the best of the Hawks. Like I said, it's one game. One game that's just a mindset. You have to win one game. When I look at the matchup, I look at LaMelo Ball versus Trae Young. I look at Bridges, Kevin Huerter. I feel like the Hawks, I don't think they're there yet. I don't think they're there yet to beat the Hornets. Granted, they were just there in their respective conference last year, but I don't think the Hornets matchup is a matchup for them. Now saying that, we have the Cavs, Hornets. I'm gonna give it to the Hornets again. Again, a lack of center play. I know you gotta grab rebounds.
That is gonna be a tough matchup.
Grab the board. I know 2 tough matchups for them.
That's a bunch of size. You throwing Markkanen at them, Mobley, Jared Allen.
I gotta give it to the Hornets, man.
And those Cavs play defense.
That team just plays great basketball together. Like you can see the energy, you can see the excitement, you can see all of that. Just in like the little 10-second Sports Center clips that we see that there's definitely something there, definitely potential. Like I said, if they go in the off season, get a big man, a decently sized big man, or just draft one,
because Montrezl Harrell's not gonna get it done for you. I'm sorry.
And Montrezl Harrell, he brings energy. Granted, he's undersized, cool, but he brings energy.
He's cool. He's just not gonna get it done.
He's not. But you can't, bro. Bonds are not meant to be broken. And this Charlotte team has that bond.
Okay.
Not saying that the Cavs don't, but I'm going to give it to the
I'm not going to lie. All 4 of these Eastern Conference teams are fun to watch. It's going to suck to watch.
Yeah. Like, if we could have them all in the tournament, we could. But since we can't, I'm going to go with the Charlotte Hornets, making my 8th seed spot, and of course Brooklyn Nets being the 7th seed. If they somehow lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers, you won't see an episode next week of the Play Through the Whistle podcast.
All right. Moving on to my playing picks. I'll start with the Western Conference. We already broke it down a little bit. So Timberwolves and Clippers, I'm taking the Timberwolves. It's a one-game single elimination. The Timberwolves just have a bunch of firepower they could throw at you. And I understand Paul George is back, but he's just getting into a rhythm. I think I'll just take him at least one game to warm up. Pelicans play the Spurs. I'll take the Pelicans, like Jalen said. Just think it's a little too much for the Spurs to handle on their play. And no disrespect to Keldon Johnson even. Jakob Poeltl, DeJounte Murray, like you said, but when you have CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, you even could throw a guy like Devontae Graham out there. The Pelicans play defense too. They have Herb Jones. They can play defense, but yeah, I have the Pelicans advancing to the game for the AFC. But with the Clippers playing the Pelicans, I trust Tyronn Lue as a coach. He is a really, really good coach, and I'll take the Clippers to beat the Pelicans. Over in the Eastern Conference, Nets, Cavs, we already talked about this. Nets are going to win this game. The Nets are going to win this game. If the Nets don't win this game,
there won't be an episode next week.
No, there will be an episode next week. Don't say that.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get out of bed if the Nets lose to the Cavaliers.
If the Nets don't win this game, it's going to be some troubles. It's going to be some troubles down in Miami because then that means I'll have to play Miami. That's assuming they win the next game because they lost to the Hawks like recently. But either way, Hawks, Hornets, like Jalen said, experience is going to come through at some point, and I trust Trae Young. I might trust him to a fault. I trust Trae Young in these single elimination games, so I have them beating the Hornets. And not only I have them beating the Hornets, but I also have them beating the Cavs and advancing to be your 8th seed. So just to go over it real quick, the 7th and 8th seed in the Western Conference, I have it being the Minnesota Timberwolves and Clippers respectively. And in the Eastern Conference, I have them being the Brooklyn Nets and Atlanta Hawks.
Things about
moving on
now, boys.
Moving on, we're going to talk about the Western Conference. And here's Jalen's Western Conference bracket. I'll let you break it down. I'll go through the matchups real quick. So in Jalen's Western Conference, the way you had to play and breaking down, his first matchup would be Suns at Timberwolves, which would be the 1-8 matchup.
With this 1-8 matchup, the Timberwolves are going to get spanked. I think at most the series goes to 5. Suns
got that swag though. I don't know what Patrick Beverly did, but they got some new swag now. Suns
are like that. They're like that. And you see there's the team logo up here 3 times for a reason.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
The record speaks for itself.
My fault for cutting you off, though. Moving on, you got Mavs Jazz. Mavs Jazz is a series that we know is going to happen. So how you see that series going?
Most people thought that with the Porzingis trade, the Mavericks would fall off. Stats show that the Mavericks actually were better without Porzingis. There's no answer for Luka Doncic on it.
Yeah, they're just gonna keep attacking Rudy Gobert in the pick and roll. This is gonna be the whole entire series.
As much as I like Rudy Gobert as a center,
that's gonna be the whole entire series.
He's just a lick, bro. He's just a lick on defense.
It sucks for Donovan Mitchell. It sucks.
Yeah, when you bring Gobert to the perimeter, it's literally nothing he can do. He's just there. Like, he serves the purpose of just being the 5th man on the floor if he's up top at the perimeter. With that, especially with Luka Doncic is great off the pick and roll. I feel like that's an aspect of his game where he just demolishes teams.
I watched that man live, just literally go through the pick and roll so many different times. He gets a screen from the top of the key, ends up hitting a step back through the corner, fading away like
phenomenal off the pick and roll. So if we're going to take a man who's phenomenal at the pick and roll and a man who sucks at the pick and roll, they can exploit that all series and not have an answer for it. So
it's going to be a quick series. That's going to be a quick series.
Yeah. And now if we look on the other side, we got Memphis versus the Clips.
A little spicy there. Got to see an upset.
I don't believe that this, like I said earlier, experience, man, it goes a long way. Memphis, great season, great coaching, great players, great team chemistry. But when I look at the team, they're too young, too inexperienced.
Hey, we've seen these. We literally seen it. These teams that get hot at the end of the year. We literally just saw the Hawks do it. And if even we talk about the NFL, the Bengals literally just do it. You don't believe in the Grizzlies like that?
Yeah, I can't fade the Grizzlies right here. Gotta go with the Clips. Tyronn Lue, phenomenal coach, phenomenal black coach. Let's just put that in perspective. Phenomenal black head coach in the NBA. When I look at that Clippers team, I see Paul George. That man, single-handedly in playoffs, he's taking teams, stacked teams to fights. Like we look back at that Heat Pacers
He's
series.
a notorious playoff choker just for one series, but
yeah. But if we look past that bubble season, look past it. Let's go back to that Pacers Heat matchup between him and Braun. Like
back in 2014,
just great. It was great basketball. People watched that. I gotta give it to the Clips, man. No offense to the Grizzlies. I don't want nobody to feel offended. They're a great team. I just don't think they're there yet. Maybe veteran leadership would help, or maybe just another year in the NBA would help. You know, I feel like they're definitely.
I was gonna get him one.
They're definitely going. They definitely have a lot of potential, but I'm going to give it to Los Angeles Clippers.
I only kind of like that comparison, Grizzly to the Bengals.
But if we look in the last matchup of the first round of the Western Conference playoffs, that team with that bridge as their logo, bro.
It's the Warriors and the Nuggets. That's going to be a fun series to watch.
As a LeBron fan, I went through 4 years of watching the Warriors.
And Steph's supposed to come back.
I watched 4 years of what the Warriors do in the finals and how they get to the finals. Now, some say they wouldn't have got there if CP3 didn't get hurt in that Rockets series.
Yeah, I'm one of those people because they would not have gotten there.
Zaza Pachulia with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
There's a lot that went into those Warriors playoff runs.
But to make the finals and win the finals, you have to have a lot of luck. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a shot at anybody. It's the truth. You have to have a lot of luck.
There's a lot that goes into winning these games. Like in the playoffs, especially in the finals, they're not just basketball games anymore. It takes a lot. But when I look at this matchup, I see Curry, Clay, and Dre versus Jokic. It's plain and simple.
See, when you put it like that, it does kind of seem like a series that's going to be over in 4 or 5 games.
Plain and simple. I see Curry, Clay, and Dre versus Jokic. Jokic, MVP hands down, but it takes more to win a playoff series in the NBA. And unfortunately, their more is hurt. Mm-hmm. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. would have made this a series if they were on the court.
They had Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. I might have to be picking the Nuggets. I might have to pick the Nuggets.
I think it goes to 6, but I'm still taking the Dubs if they had those two. Now, since they don't have those two, I got the Warriors. Warriors probably in 5, man. Curry, Clay, and Dre.
They haven't lost a playoff series when all 3 of them are fully healthy.
It's the Warriors, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it doesn't get any simpler than that. It's the Warriors. Now, we look at the second round matchups. Suns, Mavericks. I see the Suns blowing them out the water. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I look for a great production from DeAndre Ayton in this matchup. Like I said, the loss of KP, that's a 7-3 guy who could, just do this and be at the basket, be guarding the basket. I look to see a lot from DeAndre Ayton in that series. Also, I think Devin Booker's going to go get his because that's what he does. He's just a hooper. He goes and get his buckets. And Chris Paul, point guard Chris Paul, put that in perspective, point guard Chris Paul. He's going to run that offense. And no offense to the Mavericks, but they got people who can guard pick and roll. Like, they got that. So I'm going to give it to the Suns. Warriors, Clippers. I got another one out the water. I don't think the Clippers can keep up with the Warriors.
Makes sense.
The thing with the experience, they're probably going to be old. Look at that roster. I see some old heads on there. The Clippers can't keep up with the Warriors. I don't have the Warriors taking that series. Now, Western Conference Finals, Suns, Warriors. There has not been a stop to Curry, Clay, and Dre in the playoffs. We have not seen that. We've never seen somebody single-handedly shut Steph Curry down for a full series. We've seen Klay Thompson go off for games in the playoffs. We've seen Draymond go off for games in the playoffs. The thing that makes the Warriors great is everybody knows what their role is and what they're supposed to do. Saying that, I got to go with the Warriors. That team is their chemistry and their production on the floor is too great to not take them.
Yeah.
And when I look at the Suns team, I see defenders and Cal Bridges. Aiden plays great defense. But I just something about Steph Curry, Clay, and Dre. Like when on the floor,
really, really good supporting cast players. You got
and then if you look beside like
Jordan
that,
Poole.
like Jordan Poole, Juan Toscano,
Anderson. That's exactly where I was about to go.
Like,
the rookies, Kuminga's been playing really, really well.
They have that. They are like I'm not even gonna say they have potential. They are there. They are there.
People were wondering if they should trade those rookies like
no,
Kuminga and Moses
they're
Moody.
there.
Yeah, they are being valuable role players.
Single-handedly, they're there. They're the team to be in the West.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Warriors.
And here's my Western Conference. Like, they're very, very, very similar. So I'll just go through these a little bit faster since we're very similar. Suns, I will have the Clippers being the 8th seed with my playing picks. And I think the Suns will beat the Clippers. I think the Clippers will get like 5 or 6 games out of them just because Tyronn Lue is just that good of a coach. And that's kind of what happened in the Western Conference Finals last year. So, yeah, I have the Suns beating the Clippers in about 6 games. Mavs, Jazz. You know what? Call it a hot take. I've been called a Jazz hater. Give me the Mavs in a sweep. The Jazz are just, they're not there. I trust Luka.
Broomhouse, what did he just say, y'all?
Okay, so specifically if Luka plays every game of the series. Obviously, if Luka doesn't play every game of the series, I'm still taking the Mavs in like 6 or 7. But yeah. Grizzlies, Timberwolves. This is going to be a fun series to watch. And I think it'll be a tough series for the Grizzlies to pull out, but I'll take the Grizzlies in 6. I trust Taylor Jenkins. I trust John Morant. I just trust him a little bit more than I trust Cat. And playoff John has been different. Last year, he took the Jazz to 5, but most of those games were close. In the final series, Warriors and Nuggets, Jalen alluded to it earlier. The Warriors they're going to be too much for the Nuggets to handle. So then it'll set up a second round of Suns, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Warriors. And I think Luka Doncic steals 2 games from the Suns. I'll take the Suns in 6. While in the other matchup will be Grizzlies, Warriors. Look, we seen this matchup in the play-in last year. Granted, it was no Klay Thompson, but the Grizzlies team is relatively the same. Jalen knows. I was going back and forth on this pick, but I had to pick the Warriors, man. Even though, Dylan Brooks has been a Steph Curry stopper, they didn't have a Klay Thompson on a team that generated the same amount of gravity. Draymond's going to be able to do Draymond things. He's going to have space around him. Guys like Jordan Poole have become better. Like we said, Juan Toscano Anderson's really good. Even guys like Damon Lee could hit a shot from now and then. So I'll take the Warriors and their experience. And then in the Western Conference Finals, even though I probably should pick the Suns, and I probably should, but I'm going to hate using this as an excuse. It's a Chris Paul team in the playoffs. Something always happens to a Chris Paul team in the playoffs. I don't know what it is. He gets hurt. One of his players get hurt. Knock on wood. I got wood right here. Hopefully none of them get hurt, but it's a Chris Paul team in the playoffs. Something always goes wrong. So I'm going to take the Warriors in the conference finals. Let's get into our Eastern Conference picks. Jalen, you're
on to the East side, baby. Now, here's where we're going to have a lot of different opinions.
Yeah, it's a lot of disagreements in the East. It's a lot of disagreements.
Well, first disagreement, we're going to start with that 1-8 matchup. Like I said, I have Charlotte getting to the 8th seed. When I look at this matchup, I don't see an answer for Jimmy Butler, Bam, and Tyler Hero.
I was saying Tyler Hero, like Kyle Lowry's also not on his team.
Oh my God, I forgot about Kyle.
Yeah, and Victor Oladipo off the bench. No, the Heat got a squad. The
Heat are going. They're up. Their logo is up there for a reason. Multiple times.
The Heat have a squad.
They're going. They're going to have fun with it. They're going to have their way with the Hornets. If the Hornets take a game, I'll be surprised. I'll probably have the Heat in 5 just to be on the safe side, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Hornets got swept here if they make it. Next one goes 76ers, Raptors.
We're going to have a discussion about this when we get to my turn. We're going to have a discussion about this one.
When I look at the 76ers team, I'll call this season a battle. A battle with all started with Ben Simmons saying he's not playing, to Joel Embiid being the scoring leader, to in the middle of all that trading Ben Simmons for James Harden. Like,
it's just been too much going on.
It's a lot. It's a roller coaster year for that organization. But when I look at that team, I see James Harden and Joel Embiid.
You know who else you got to see? You know who else you got to look at?
Who else do I have to look at?
Doc Rivers. James Harden, Joel Embiid, and Doc Rivers in the playoffs. That just seems like a recipe for disaster.
It does, but hey, on the flip side, that also seems like it could get the job done. When I look at that team again, got Tyrese Maxey on there, Joel Embiid, James Harden, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris.
Matisse also can't play games in Toronto. It's a lot of things going against.
There's a lot. But hey, they have the home court advantage. So if it does go to 7, he'll be in that game. But when I look, I see Joel Embiid and James Harden plain and simple. I see the scoring leader this season, and then I just see James Harden who can get a shot at will if the shot falls in. Because there was a game where that man shot terrible this season. I think we all know that game.
He shot terrible in a game in Toronto recently.
And it was the game I'm alluding to is the game against the Nets where he was supposed to go attack them and he looked like straight garbage. But the Raptors, I don't see nobody on there. Maybe OG Anunoby, he might get a little stop on James Harden, but who's really been able to shut Harden down besides James Harden himself?
Manu did a couple years ago. Nah, Manu Ginobili shut down James Harden was one of the wildest things I've seen in a playoff.
Manu Ginobili,
bro was like 38, just strapping up James Harden for the full game. Either way, we talked about the series enough. Let's move on to the other side because
let's flip sides to it. Garnett, your Boston Celtics, man.
Yeah. As a tough matchup.
Your Boston Celtics, man. The best team smoking since.
Hey.
The best team smoking the end of the year, Garnett.
Either way. All I just want to say is the Bucks, they really ducked the smoke with the Nets. They would have to play them in the second round either way. You know what? I would rather play the Nets while I know I'm fully healthy. That's all I'm going to say.
And I look at the matchup. I got this series going at minimum 6 games. More than likely going to go to 7. I don't see where either team gets the best of each other. The other one to go to 4 or 5. Honestly, pick who you want.
If it goes taking my whole entire bias out of it because I'm a Celtics fan. If you pick the Nets, I'm not going to be mad at you.
Yeah, like I said, it's a flip-flop series. It's a coin flip. I'm solely picking the Nets off of the fact that Kyrie and KD, they're special. Granted, we have not seen both of them in the same team together, the same playoff series, but we've seen them do their individual work. They're special. KD's KD. He gonna get his. On the other side of the ball, you got Jason Tatum. He gonna get his. But Kyrie Irving, KD, I just like the connection there.
Before you keep going, I just got a notification, and it's about the Lakers. They have officially dismissed Coach Frank Vogel.
We knew that was going to happen.
Anyway, let's go back.
We knew that was going to happen. But anyway, I like the Nets, man. I know the Celtics been the hottest thing smoking since the new calendar year.
Yeah, they've been 28-7 since January 7th.
Yeah, they've been the hottest thing on the market. But when I look, I just see KD, Kyrie. Marcus Smart, great defender. Jalen Brown, great defender. Jason Tatum.
Eric White, a great defender too.
Another great defender.
Al Horford, a pretty good defender too. They were the number 1 defense in the league. They have a bunch of great.
Yeah, but no Robert Williams in this series. That's going to hurt them. He was one of them defensive anchors when you look at the big man position of the Celtics. But I see no answer for KD and Kyrie. I also don't see no answer for Jason Tatum, but 2 outweighs 1. So I'll give it to the Nets. But it's going to be a hard-fought battle. Whoever wins this, in my opinion, whoever wins this is going to the finals. Undoubtedly,
it's kind of like the same way we felt about the Suns-Lakers series last year. We believed whoever won the Suns-Lakers series last year was going to the finals.
This is the conference finals matchup right here.
It is crazy because we're going to see it in the first round.
This is the conference finals, and we're going to see it in the first round. This is the conference finals right here. Milwaukee, Chicago, no Lonzo. I don't even think with Lonzo Ball they beat the Bucks.
I don't think it matters. I think Milwaukee's going to sweep them anyway. Cool. I really don't. Chicago has been so horrible.
Hey, shout out Chi-Town, but I don't see it
post All-Star break. They've been so bad.
Giannis is going to go for 40, 50. Man, y'all are just going to have to sit there and stare at him just go off. Nets, Bucks. I got to go with Nets again. Unfortunately, no. The Nets are there. It's championship or bust. Championship or bust. Kyrie
If they
hits the
don't get
market
Jimmy-
after this year.
Hey, the Nets have a phenomenal squad. I would say they rebounded from the James Harden trade well. Granted, I don't think they got better, but adding Steph Curry when Joe Harris is out, adding
Curry, Andre Drummond.
They added some pieces there.
Ben Simmons does play.
Hey, they're optimistic that he'll play in the first round.
If he plays against the Bucks, there's your honest answer. I don't think he stops him, but he slows him down. And you can't play slow when you're playing two people with offensive bags like KD and Kyrie. They're going to make you play at their pace. And ultimately, Nets Heat. I gotta go with the Nets, man. With Ben Simmons too. Like if they have Ben Simmons, I got the Nets in 5 with Ben Simmons. Without Ben Simmons, I think it goes to 6 max, but I'm still taking the Nets.
All right. Moving on to my Eastern Conference, like we said, a lot of things look very different here. Very, very different here, and I want to dive into it. Heat Hawks. The Hawks won my 8th seed. I think the Heat win this series. I think it's a 6 or 7 games. Trae Young is so crazy. He led the league in total points and total assists this year. Like, he's so crazy. He's Ice Trae. He's going to give the Heat a run for their money. I don't trust the Heat in the playoffs because Tyler Hero's your only primary scorer. We've seen Jimmy Butler struggle in playoff series. I've seen this man get outscored by Bryn Forbes, a man who could barely crack the Spurs rotation this year. Like, Bam is not a scorer. I mean, Victor Oladipo could help, but this is also, his second month back? Like, I just don't trust the Heat like that. Although I do have them getting the series down to 6 or 7 just because the Hawks are not as good as they were last year. 76ers Raptors. Ooh, I know a lot of people are going to be looking at me crazy for this, but I like the Toronto Raptors. Not only do I think they have the matchup in the coaching department, they have the matchup in the defense department, and they have the matchup in the shooting department. The Sixers' best shooter is James Harden. Now, when you say it like that, it doesn't seem like a bad thing. But in a playoff series, I want like a 40% shooter from 3, like a Joe Harris, like a Steph Curry, like a Payton Pritchard, like a Gary Trent. Okay, like a Duncan Robinson. See, there's a bunch of guys I just named. The Sixers don't really have shooters like that. And around a guy like Joel Embiid in a playoff series where the floor shrinks, especially with the length Toronto has on defense. I mean, like I said, guys like Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Precious Achiuwa. They have a bunch of lengthy players on the basketball court. And like I said earlier, James Harden, we've seen him underperforming in playoffs. We've seen Joel Embiid underperforming in playoffs. We've also seen Doc Rivers underperforming in playoffs. Your 3 most pivotal pieces underperforming in the playoffs, it just doesn't seem like a recipe for success for me. And I think the Sixers win this series, especially if they're going to have to run out a lineup, and they're going to have to with James Harden, Maxey, who's not a plus shooter, Matisse Thybulle, who we know is not a plus shooter, Joel Embiid, who is not a plus shooter, and whoever they run out there at the 4, like they're going to have to be relying on Georges Niang to hit outside shots. I don't trust that. And I will take the Raptors in the series. You know what? I'll even make it a little bit more spicy. I'll take the Raptors in 6. I don't even think it's going to go 7. I don't think we're going to get a 7th game.
I think that's a bold prediction. That's a coin flip series right there. That series can easily go to 7.
Celtics Nets. We talked about the series a little bit earlier. Like we said, whoever we have winning the series is going to make it to the Eastern. Is going to make it to the finals. And here's my thing. You told me we're going to miss Robert Williams from this series. I think Robert Williams is matter in the series more against the Bucks than the Nets. I mean, the Nets. Yeah, Robert Williams would help. He would help. But when you have a guy like Jason Tatum, who's playing the best basketball of his career, Jalen Brown's playing the best basketball of his career, Marcus Smart also playing the best basketball of his career, Al Horford playing the best basketball of his career at his old age, and I'll even throw Grant Williams in there, who's playing the best basketball of his career, combined with a coach like Ime Udoka, who's gotten this team to turn around midseason. This team, who was the 11th seed at the beginning of January, now they're the 2 seed.
That was just great.
A fantastic turnaround.
Great calendar year for the Celtics.
A fantastic turnaround. I'm going to take the team that's hot. Like I said earlier, we've seen teams get hot and go on phenomenal runs. The Hawks last year, I hate to keep bringing them up since the NFL, but the Bengals this year. Like, we've seen these teams, young teams, get hot and go on runs. And I just think the Celtics are on one right now. And call it bias, call it whatever you want. I'm taking the Celtics in 7. I have the series going 7 games. I'm a realist.
Mm-hmm.
Bucks, Bulls, and Bucks in 4. I'm not even going to entertain the Bulls right now. Milan might not like that, but Bucks in 4. Don't care. Heat Raptors. Another spicy pick right here. Another spicy pick right here. At the end of the day, it's gonna turn into a half-court game. And who do I trust getting me buckets? Tyler Hero or Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam?
I don't know.
I trust Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam more. No, these Heat Raptors games, the final score of these games is gonna be like 78-82. Like it's gonna be so much defense. Game. It's gonna be so much defense. It's insane. And I just trust the Raptors. I don't know why I do. It's just a little bit of confidence I have in the Raptors. I just trust the Raptors more.
You must got to taste Canada or something. No.
So I have the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. This series will go 7 games. It'll go either way. If the Heat make the Eastern Conference Finals,
there's no series of Raptors play where it doesn't go to 6-7. I don't.
Yeah. If the Heat make the Eastern Conference Finals, okay, I'm wrong. Okay, it's okay because, like I said, I'm going 7 games. It could go either way. It's a coin flip. If the Raptors make the conference finals, I just look like a genius. I look like a genius. Either way, Celtics Bucks. We just seen the Celtics team take this Bucks team down to the wire in a game on, what was that, Thursday? Without Jason Tatum, without Al Horford, without Rob Williams. All 3 players are supposed to be back in this game, in this series. Although I think the Bucks take it to like 6 or 7 games, I'm going to pick my Boston Celtics just because of the fact that it is extremely hard. And I know you know this as a LeBron fan. It is extremely hard to go to back-to-back finals.
Oh, mm-hmm.
It is tough to go to back-to-back finals.
Especially 10 straight.
And in this bracket where they're going to have to play the Bulls, even though I don't think the Bulls are much of a threat, but then have to play the Nets or the Celtics, that's tough. That's tough. They avoided one of them, but I also think Boston going to have a little bit of motivation because the Bucks literally avoided playing the Nets. I think Boston will have a little bit more motivation on that. And Celtics, Raptors, like I said, I think whichever one of the 3 teams between the Heat, Sixers, or Raptors come out, if it's the Celtics, Nets, or Bucks, to be honest, I think they'll win. So I'm taking the Celtics. Either way, we have both of our finals matchups set. Jalen, I'll kick it to you, but you have the Warriors playing the Nets in the finals.
Like I was saying with that Western Conference, man. Curry, Clay, and Dre. When I look at the matchup, the series is going to be phenomenal. I wouldn't be surprised if the series goes to 7. Look at Kyrie versus Steph, KD, Clay, Dre, Ben Simmons if they have them. It's going to be fun to watch, ladies and gentlemen. When I look at the Warriors team, they click. They click on all cylinders. Offense, defense. When the stars sit down, those players who've been sitting on that bench for a while, they get in that game and they play basketball. They hoop.
Yo, Jonathan Kuminga's been going crazy.
Yes.
He's been going crazy.
And then also, I think we forgot this when we were talking about the Warriors and their bench depth. James Wiseman is not on this roster right now.
It's gonna be crazy when he comes back.
Like James Wiseman.
Could you imagine if they had LaMelo? Could you imagine if they had LaMelo?
So the Warriors are not a championship or bust team. They're not a team rebuilding. They are in the perfect sense when you look at a team and an organization. They got their young pieces. Their stars still have a couple more, I won't say prime years, but they still have a couple more years of Curry probably averaging 26 through 28, Clay getting 22, Dre rebounding, assisting probably 8, 11. And I don't know about 11, but they still have some good years ahead of them for their veteran guys. But we're talking about right now in this sense, I gotta take the Warriors.
I'm not gonna lie. If the Nets get to the even if the Nets lose in general, it's gonna be a disappointment. But if they get to the finals and lose,
yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Gonna be a big disappointment
because the Nets are championship or bust.
That's gonna hurt
because you're not building a team around Ben Simmons in the future. You're not. Just solely him, you're not. You can't do it.
I mean, they do got 2 pieces that fit that role with Steph Curry and Joe Harris, but
can't do it with Ben Simmons. Can't do it with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons' game is not there where you can say, I feel comfortable sending Ben Simmons out there and letting him run the show in Brooklyn. But when I look at the matchup, I just got to go with the Warriors. Their chemistry, the connection, all that. They just have it. Energy, they're fun to watch, highlight galore. It's going to be a tough series. This is another series where I'm not surprised if I see 7 games. This might be a long playoff run, ladies and gentlemen, with all these 7-game series we might have.
It's going to be a fun one.
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 7. I don't think either team gets the best of each other. Where, like I say, it goes to 4 or 5. Take the Warriors. I got the Warriors in 6.
All right, moving on to my finals matchup. Call me biased, but I'm not going to pick my team to go to the finals and lose in the finals. You know how crazy I would look if I picked the Boston Celtics to go to the finals and lose? You know how crazy that would look? I cannot pick this team to lose. At this point, Robert Williams will be back. This team is actually relatively healthy. We have guys we could throw at Steph Curry. Not saying they'll shut him down. We could throw Marcus Smart. We could throw Derek White at Steph Curry. At Clay, just leave. We could throw Jalen Brown at Steph Curry, to be honest. We have a multitude of guys we could throw at Steph Curry and attempt to slow him down. And if we could slow down Steph Curry like 1 or 2 games, that could just be the difference in the series. That could easily be the difference in the series. This team was number 1 in defense for a reason. They finished with a top 10 offense. This team is here. Team is here. This is the year. If they don't win it this year, I might not pick. I'm not gonna pick them to win next year. I'm not that crazy. But if they don't win it this year, it's gonna be a tough sledding for them in the future.
The part that makes this pick so makes me want to fall out my chair, laugh, smile. It's the fact that the Celtics have the stats to back this up.
They have to win it.
And it's your team. It's an ugly, realistic life that we're living in, that they have everything to back up this pick.
Celtics in 7. Hey, my pin tweet on Twitter right now is, by the way, the Celtics are winning the NBA championship. So
we'll see.
It has to happen, right? It just has to. It's destined.
We will see.
But yeah, I guess we're done. We're done with the inaugural episode. That'll be all. Catch us later this week where we will go through a mock draft. Also talk about the plan some more. That is it. I mean, we're done.
Just like that.
Peace.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and turn notifications on to hear the latest full episodes or segments from the show that come out the day after the show airs. Until next time, peace.